We've all been selling on Amazon for over 5 years now, and one thing that we've realized is that the blueprint is always changing. And in order to succeed, number one, you need to be in the trenches, and number two, you need to have your student hat on, and you need to be always learning. You need to be always adapting and innovating with new strategies. So in this video today, we're gonna be diving through step by step the exact blueprint that you need to understand in 2025 as a beginner in order to make money on Amazon. Talking about product, we're gonna dive into how to find products, how to validate products, and everything that really goes in between that, which is building your listing, getting your product from point A to point B, actually manufacturing and making sure that there's quality control done within that process. And then lastly, how do we launch it? How do we launch it to the masses on Amazon, take advantage of all that traffic that's already being created and leveraging the systems that Amazon really gives us. So with that, let's dive right into things.
So the first thing that we're gonna touch on is Amazon FBA and how that actually works and why it's super important for you to understand it. So Amazon FBA stands for Fulfilled by Amazon. And the beautiful thing about this program, guys, is simply that, like Brian had mentioned, we get access to Amazon's distribution network, which means that as somebody that's growing and scaling a business, we don't have to have a warehouse. We don't have to do our own shipping for us. In fact, my wife had a bikini brand and she literally, in our warehouse, we had to store everything, ship everything, package everything, drop off everything. And it was just so much actual work. So if you're listening to this and you're working a full-time job like Brian and I were, like Mina was when we first started, it gives you so much access to something that most people don't actually have access to. So all that time you would spend actually doing all of that labor work is completely handled from Amazon. Now, the other thing I want to dive into is private label and why this is hands down the best model for you to be able to follow when building and scaling an Amazon business in 2025. And private label is essentially where you find a product, and we'll dive more into that. You find a product that solves a problem, you find a really strong manufacturer, and you put your own brand around it. You build something that matters, and that's what's ultimately going to stand the test of time.
All right, guys, let's get into finding a product. Now, I want you to pay attention to this because all the information available online right now about how to find a winning product is completely bullshit and it is outdated. It does not work. And that's the reason why my brand, MMA Nutrition, is still alive from 2018 with 5,000 reviews, generating me pretty much almost passive income, $30,000 to $35,000 a month in profits every single month. Now, it's funded my wedding, retired my parents, helped me travel all over the world. It actually furnished this entire apartment because of the profits that I'm getting from this brand. And I did not find a winning product. What I actually did was I created a solution to a problem that is better than anyone else's solution, and I validated the demand. And I'm gonna walk you through that process in a second. So first of all, in your daily lives or in something that you're passionate about, you want to find a problem or a product, something that you're using that could be better. So how many times have we seen something and said, you know what, this could be better? You're holding a mug and you're like, this mug is too hot. It has hot coffee, it's too hot. What if I created something that wasn't as hot? Or maybe you're listening to a kid and he's playing an electric drum set and you're like, this is too loud. What if we created a drum set that was electric, but you didn't hear any noise when someone hit the stuff? And then you wouldn't have all this disturbance and parents hating their lives because it's so loud. So now that is the definition of creating a solution to a problem that's better than what's on the market right now. So step number one is you need to figure that out. And you can easily do this with AI. If you find a product, you can actually take the top 10 products, go to a tool like Jungle Scout, summarize the reviews very quickly and see what are the pros and cons of the products on the market. And then from there, you can ask AI to prompt you, what are different things that you could do to this product to make it actually superior than everything on the market? And then the final step here is now that you have a product or an idea, you want to validate the demand. You want to make sure that people are actually looking for that product. If you get too innovative, people might not actually be looking for that on Amazon. So I actually had a client that sold a ketchup product and it was a powdered ketchup. You put it in a container, add some water. No one wanted to buy it because no one's actually looking for that. But if we can validate that there's enough people looking for the product and the competitors are actually making revenue, then you know that you're onto something.
So when it comes to finding that product, I mean, that's the most fundamental thing. What I would recommend is spend as much time possible here, because when you can go and jump through the hoops of developing your product that is gonna stand out on Amazon, the next step that you're gonna take that information to is actually seeing if it's possible from a manufacturing standpoint. The more time you spend in developing, let's even call it a research report that gives you, okay, here's my first goal, second goal, third goal. Take that information into a manufacturer and see if they can actually make it happen. Okay. Now, obviously there's a bunch of different ways that you can source products. Myself and Eric, I would say, specialize in more products based out of China. A lot of material-based products. We're talking wood, metal, plastics, you name it. The one thing that's really cool about Mina is he specializes in more health-related products. So he's sourcing domestic. So we use a platform personally called Alibaba, okay? Mina will use something as simple as Google, but also another network called Thomas.net. And even more so, as you get more experience with selling on Amazon, you start to develop relationships with manufacturers that can introduce you to more people, right? I know Mina has 4 different brands on Amazon, and he literally has 3 manufacturers that he'll go to and you can get everything. So, this isn't an easy thing, but over time you start to develop the relationships that you need in order to manufacture at extremely high quality. Diving a little bit more into actual manufacturing, just to kind of give you more high-level things, right? The way I look at everything when it comes to selling on Amazon, but even more specifically, each phase and each step within Amazon, it's always fun. You always want to start at the very top. So the first thing that you need to do is put the output out there to reach out to as many suppliers and manufacturers as possible. When you start communicating with people, the biggest thing that you need to do is figure out if they're going to be a good partner for you. Can they manufacture the product that they need? How is their communication? What is their lead time? After you do this and you find and gauge, okay, maybe there's 3 manufacturers that are potentials for you, okay? You always want to move through and start actually sampling the product to see if it works. You're not just finding a solution to a problem without actually testing, especially because you've done the research, you're trying to innovate, you're trying to actually validate at the end of the day, is this something that's going to impact myself? And even more so, if you can take that to friends and family, people that are going to be your ideal customer persona, and validate that even more outside of the actual demand itself.
So taking that a step further, Brian, with manufacturing comes quality control. Brian talked about, the pure fact that it's very, very important to sample. We're not going to be there for the manufacturing. We're not going to be on the ground to see how everything is going. But before we even go into manufacturing, before we even place a deposit, it's so important for us to be able to sample. Sampling allows us to see what is it the product that is being produced. And the biggest thing here is putting yourself in your potential customer's shoes, seeing the things that they might catch. Right? A bad product leads to bad reviews. Bad reviews on Amazon, we know the nightmare of that could cause. It's a social proof driven platform. If we can catch that beforehand and solve that before we go into our full production run, it's gonna make our lives 100 times easier. Now, to take quality control even further, because we're not there, we can use inspection companies, specifically the ones that are in China, to be able to do and actually do inspections. A third-party inspection is what we call it, where they come in and actually sample and test the product. You tell them exactly what you're looking to test for. For instance, if we have a product that needs to go on a wall, well, you better believe we're gonna get them to install it on a wall. If it needs to hold or bear weight, they need to be able to test that, because again, if we say something like it can hold 50 pounds and it can actually do that, a customer is gonna find that and it's gonna ruin our listing by getting potential negative reviews. And I know I was talking specifically about sourcing in China, but this exactly applies in the United States as well.
Actually, my first lesson on Amazon was when I sent 100 units from my manufacturer to Amazon. I trusted them because they were in America, but 60 out of the 100 units actually all blew up in shipping because the bags weren't sturdy enough, and we never tested anything. And unfortunately, I thought, you know what, we're in America, not China, we don't need QC. I was definitely wrong. So you can never skimp out on QC. All right, quick recap. You're gonna create a solution to a problem that's better than everyone else's solution. Do the R&D, do all that stuff. Validate the demand, talk to people. Then from there, you're gonna find manufacturers, see if they can manufacture it. From there, get some samples. Then they're gonna go into the production run and you're gonna quality control that production, make sure everything is good. The next step is, okay, now your goods are ready to go. You have to send it to Amazon. That's where shipping comes in. I like to use something called a freight forwarder. A freight forwarder is basically like, consider it a project manager that deals with shipping. If you're shipping from China, the steps are, you need to get it from the manufacturer. Once it's in the port, it has to get loaded on the boat. Then it comes to America, that port, you cross customs, clearance, pay duties, all that kind of stuff. And then another truck all the way to Amazon's warehouse. A freight forwarder will just book all these different pieces for you and handle the thing end to end. So instead of you being so involved and talking to different trucks and boats and all this kind of stuff, you can have one company like a freight forwarder just do all of that. And they're also gonna have resources for paying customs, duties, doing all that clearance, all that stuff that you might not have. Now, here's another thing you could do. You can actually do DDP shipping with your manufacturer, which means you're putting the shipping onto the manufacturer to deliver the product on the door. I don't like that as much because then you're putting all your eggs in one basket. And if the manufacturer does anything wrong, you're pretty much gonna be screwed.
So after you've created, again, that solution to a problem, the one thing that you actually need to do is start developing your brand. And I think the branding element and understanding who your customer is, this is gonna really help you do the next step, which is actually creating your listing. Understanding who your customer is will help you understand the tonality, the messaging, the specific things that are gonna resonate with them, something even as simple as the color, right? Understanding your brand first allows you to start creating your content, the content for your listing and optimizing your listing. The way that I want you to look at your listing is pretty much like any website, but the biggest thing that I always tell my students is we don't have that luxury of going into a retail store, touching and feeling the product with my hands, or even potentially even trying and testing it out. Your listing needs to answer every single possible question that your actual customer will have. This is going to mitigate returns, and it's going to, again, help them buy into what you're building. And one of the best ways to do this is through storytelling. So once you understand your brand, you understand your actual ideal customer persona, who you're communicating with, and you have a story that resonates with them, the other big portion that you need to understand is that Amazon is a search engine. Therefore, there are keywords that you need to be optimized for, and therefore, you can build this massive base of relevancy across all of those different keywords. That gives you the ability to be searched up across multiple search terms. We use tools like Jungle Scout and Data Dive in order to help us optimize our listings to do this. Now, I'm a firm believer that your visuals are going to do most of the selling on your actual listing. So first things first, we have our main image. Your main image is really, when I search up a term, let's say garlic press as a quick, easy example. When I search up garlic press, I'm gonna see 25 listings on the actual search engine results page. What is it gonna be for that customer to click on my listing versus the other? So as we talked about, your offer is everything. Your offer is going to allow you to build value in that first step of the funnel, which is actually getting that impression to actually click into your listing itself. So do the things that you need to do to build value on the search engine results page so that they can come into your listing and the rest of your listing can do the selling. The next thing is your image carousel, right? Your image carousel should be a mixture of lifestyle photos, it should have infographics, and again, putting yourself in your customer's shoes and making sure that they get all of the information that they need to feel confident in purchasing from you in the first place. We have our title, we have our bullet points, that's more sales-based conversion copy, but as we scroll down, some people may need more answers to their questions. So as we scroll down, we have the ability to have more related videos, UGC content, Amazon posts, but on top of that, your premium A+ content. Again, another opportunity to build a bigger story through actual content and visuals. If you can get this part right, a mixture of driving traffic to the listing and actually converting that traffic, that's the flywheel. That's how you succeed on Amazon.
And now once the listing's built, which is one of the most important pieces of selling on Amazon, because we can do everything that we can to send people to a listing. If it's not good enough, it's never gonna convert. You're never gonna make money. It is an equation, it is a balance. Sending people to a listing, driving traffic, and then converting that. So when we talk about a product launch on Amazon, now that you have the listings built, how do you launch that product on Amazon and start making money or get that flywheel effect, right? And that's gonna consist of Amazon pay-per-click advertising. That's where you identify different search terms that you can spend money to show up in the search results, and every time someone clicks on you, you're gonna get charged a cost per click. Now, in an ideal world, you start converting really well on the PPC and on the ads, and that's gonna result in your organic ranking coming up. And now you're organically showing up in the search results, and that's what actually turns into that, passive income type of where you're now showing up in front of people are clicking on you, it's not costing you any money, and then they're converting, and you're making more and more sales. And so launching on Amazon essentially consists of doing some keyword research, identifying all of the search terms that someone who's looking for that product could potentially be typing in, and then creating campaigns and advertising campaigns to show up for those different search terms. If you convert well on that search term, keep it. If not, eliminate it. And then continuing to recycle your advertising budget into finding more and more keywords that convert. And again, keep pushing that ad spend, because as you spend more money, you're gonna get more conversions, which is gonna help your organic ranking. And again, running that flywheel. And on top of that, as you improve your listing and get more reviews, you're gonna convert better, which is again gonna result into getting more sales.
Now, a lot of people will actually go and do everything that we just talked about, and they'll just stop there. They'll think that, oh, this is gonna make me rich. And to the element of the passive income side is getting as much organic rank, you can start working that flywheel system. That's your profit driver, that's your profit center. But one of the things that a lot of people forget on is that competitors will come in, they're gonna try to copy you, right? It's not just stop there. It's how do we get better? Listen to our customers, listen to negative reviews that we might get, even positive ones. Figure out what people actually want different from that product and start making your product better. Start making your process better, right? Your keyword research that you did here, maybe you wanna go find another 100 set of keywords. It's all about continuously testing, finding stuff that works and improving your product, and ultimately having different iterations so that you can refresh the listing, you can refresh your buyers, you can stay competitive in the market. And that's what's really gonna allow you to plant your feet and continue to grow, because a lot of people will just stop there and their product's just gonna get copied. And then what happens is their prices just start going down and down and down. And we don't want that. We wanna be the best product at all times in the marketplace. And you only do that by listening to your customer, looking at the data in the marketplace, and using that data to make decisions that will allow you to ultimately grow.
And what this really comes down to is building a brand. I think one of the keys to succeeding on Amazon, let alone just online and e-commerce in general, is number one, launching more products, And number two is, in my opinion, going a little bit more omnipresent. There's a lot of different ways to be able to make money off of Amazon that will also work to sell more on Amazon. We run a brand that has a very D2C focus, but that trickle effect increases our profitability significantly on Amazon because why? Amazon is just so trusted by people. Personally, when I see an ad on a website that I've never seen before, typically I'm searching it up on Amazon in the first place to do it. So having a more omnipresent strategy will help you build a bigger brand and therefore a better moat in order for you to scale and succeed. So when it comes to your growth and expansion, it's never a set it and forget it thing. You need to launch more products, right? Sometimes those products may fail, but knowing that you're serving that same customer persona that you developed when you go through the building of your brand is so key and important. When you figure out Amazon, I always like to say, never try to spread yourself too thin. There's a lot of different things that you can do. TikTok Shop, running your own Shopify brand, running an organic content strategy. In my opinion, you start on Amazon, you figure out your pay-per-click strategy, you build it to a point where it's profitable, and then you start expanding into other networks. I think TikTok Shop is a natural next second thing for you to go ahead and do. Having your own website is another great opportunity, and building a massive way for you to drive more traffic. It's not just pay-per-click, it's D2C ads. It's running and working with influencers, having an organic content strategy on your own social media platforms. The more that your brand is seen on and off of Amazon, the better that you're gonna succeed.
And guys, I want to touch on the fact that passive income does not exist. The reason that MMA Nutrition is pretty passive is because I've developed the skills and the systems and the process and hired the right people and the right team to actually run that brand. So I'm able to spend 1 hour, 2 hours a day maximum looking at the brand, identifying opportunities, directing my team, and they can execute on that work. And that's as passive as anything can get. There is really nothing passive in this world. And guess what? Amazon's always changing stuff. So 2 days after my wedding, Amazon actually shut down one of my products because I didn't have the right certificate. So I had to scramble to get that certificate. So as passive as we want, business and income and Amazon to be, it's never going to be passive. Don't fall into that trap.
I think one of the biggest reasons why all of us have decided to succeed is not luck, it's because we work hard. And us being in the trenches allows us to stay on our feet. And I think one of the cheat codes in order to succeeding is having a mentor, being in a community of like-minded individuals that want to see you succeed and will help you get there. So what we did was we put together a high-level training, a training that's gonna break down all of these steps that we went over in significantly more detail. On top of that, a community. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna leave a link in the description. Go ahead, watch the video, and we'll see you guys on the inside.